for those who don't know or want to be recapped, the Malawi parish is the blue spot that we tracked when we were there. It's about 50 kilometres north of Kampala and about a 2-hour drive. The first bit is on beautiful tarmac road, and then you go off and it's just mud, which is fine if it's hadn't been raining, but after that it's a nightmare. Thankfully we didn't get too much rain this time. Okay, so we went 23rd of September to the 4th of October. We were there for 12 days. So this is Clive, who's one of our trustees, and his wife Karen. And though they've been sponsors of children for many years to do with the charity, it's in more recent years, I think around lockdown, that Clive came on board as a trustee as well. So this is us arriving at nearly midnight in Kampala, the fancy new airport. It's all opened, and so that was us with the 15 bags that we took with us. And that was meeting my good friend Father Gerald Wamala, and him meeting Karen and Clive for the first time. This was my 9th visit to the parish. So always when we get there, the first thing we're doing almost immediately is starting to unpack the bags. It's a lot of work, but we've been going across so long, it doesn't matter who new comes in, if we've got a good system that everybody knows quickly what to do. So we're having to divide all the clothes. We didn't think we were going to take many clothes out this time. I didn't think we were going to be able to give clothes around all the schools, but you were amazing, the amount of stuff that came in. And we were able to give to all of the clothes and shoes to all of the 18 primary schools. So Clive this year had definitely, last year won the champion. I don't think anybody's blown up more than 55 balls before, so he did well with that. It takes quite a while and quite an effort. He was thought it was great to begin with, but he was very flagging by the end of it. Always the first morning is, the first kind of lunchtime thing, we always go and visit the elderly. All the ones who live locally and the ones that can manage travel to, and the elderly and the poorest of the poor and the vulnerable. They come and meet us on our first day in the parish. So this is when I arrived. We were walking to the group, and Clive and Karen stopped and was asking Father something, and I carried on, and the group group caught sight of me, and the noise and the whoops and the shouts and just it was such an amazing welcome when they saw me. Clive and Karen later admitted that they were in tears. They were so shocked by the joy that were coming from these people when I arrived. When we always give out their monthly supplies when we're there, and this is what they get every month. They get the big bags are maize flour. They get 5 kilos of maize flour, a kilo of salt, a kilo of rice, half a kilo of salt, and a bar of soap, which can be used for washing themselves or washing clothes. So each of them get that every month, and that is paid for through the charity. And it's identified for the poorest of the poor. I think there's between about 350 and 400 individual, families or households that are given to it. So this is giving them out. They are just so grateful. They're not the ones for touching and hugging and stuff like that very much, but because we've always reached out to them, now they just embrace us. It's just so beautiful. And it is normal for when they give you, if you give them something, often they drop to their knees. It's a sign of respect. And these elderly people who could barely walk are just dropping to their knees because they're so thankful what we're giving them. And then in their poverty, they give us back. It's just unbelievable how they have nothing, yet they give us a couple of eggs or, a sugar cane or something like that. And again, we are just so humbled. And I know Karen and Clive were really humbled by that happening, their generosity back. So this is them at a gathering at the end with all their bags on their heads. And then the rest of the visit, most of the afternoons, we went out into the we visit in the morning, and then we have a rest from about 1 o'clock till 4 because it's too hot, and then we go out again after 4 till about 6, 7 at night. So in the afternoons we were going around and to visit the ones that hadn't been able to come, the housebound and the ones who were too far. And again, their generosity in gratefulness is unbelievable. You know, they are just so delighted. So we went back to visit Bernadette, who was at 102, and she was on the mattress that we got for her last year. That was her there. This lady, she's 102. She was singing God's praises the whole time. She just was so full of joy that we'd come to visit her and we'd brought her the food. She was an absolute delight. And Pelagia was one somebody we visited and gave a mattress last year too. And we met Stephen last year too. And then Benna, who was the first person we gave the mattress to, who's blind. So she was so pleased to see for us to visit back again. So this is giving out the toys that you made. All these knitted toys being given out to the children. We went round in the afternoon giving out to the poorest of the poor children what we were doing, and also to the teachers at the school, because the teachers usually, if they've got young children, they have them with them. So we gave, whenever we went to schools, we gave out the toys to the children, at the babies at the school. So we went to visit schools. I should say we have counted up, and we have over 6,000 children on a daily basis that we feed now, on a daily basis between all the schools. The actual number was 6,031. We went around every school and documented how many children and everything like that. So that's a huge, because we thought it was about 4,000, but so it was a huge increase. The 3 senior schools, the feeding programme, the money goes into the pot for food each month, and it means that the sponsored children and the children who are attending because they've got a scholarship but they're from the poorest of the poor, they're able to access the food because it has to be paid for as in addition to the school fee. So that impacts on the 3 senior schools. And with the technical college, we've started kind of just supporting it with giving them balls and scholastic materials when we visit. It's only been running for about 2 or 3 years. So that's all of the 18 primary schools that we visited. So every morning we did 18 primary schools in about 10 days. So it's quite a because they're not all close together. You're driving very far out and about, but it's worth it. Every single school we went to, the welcome. I haven't managed to put any of the videos up of their singing and things like that this time, but I was having real problems with the videos I was hoping to put up. But yeah, the welcome was just unbelievable from each of the schools. So this is giving out the footballs, netballs, and the clothing and shoes around each of the schools, and the scholastic materials. And also we gave each of the schools, there must be about 8 or 10 tennis balls, which they absolutely love. The kids really enjoy those too. And then this is them playing with the footballs. Too close. They don't have balls. They only get balls because we take them out. And then giving out the lollies. As you see them curtsying, or sometimes they go down on their knees. They're very good at having a swing and going round to the back. You have to be very careful watching faces and clothing because they're very good at going round and round and round again. They're kids. And then the gifts. day after day, the car was filled with fruit and vegetables, chickens, eggs, whatever you ever. Every school gave us. We were overloaded every day. Came back with the car full at the back. So we were eating very well, had very amazing range, but also there was way too much. So it was being given out also to the health centre staff, and those in the hospital, in the health centre, the convent who are really, they're very, very poor, the nuns there. There's only 4 of them, but they have about 9 children that orphans that they look after. And then also to the poorest of the poor roundabout. So everybody benefits, you know, it goes round and round. It was great fun, having fun with the kids as well. Teaching them songs. Nobody, it's unheard of what our charity does, to be year after year, that's 18 years now, to be systematically supporting not just one project, but so many, and it grows and grows and grows. This was a family that we met when we went to one of the furthest away schools, and we didn't really know what was going on. We trunked along, and these kids were following us, and then father said, like, you know, give them the supplies. This is a really, really poor family. It's just an example of something. 7 orphaned children, they of a few different parents, but all the same grandmother. They live with their grandmother who's really struggling, and they are just, their house is falling down. It's you know, this is awful, but it's, you know, there's so many. It was an example of it. You know, the rain just washes houses away in storms and stuff like that, and they're left with nothing. But so often grandparents are looking after multiple children because of parents either abandoning the children, or a lot of parents have died of AIDS. There's a whole generation missing. This is we went to give Captain Paul a volleyball because he sends guards overnight when we're there staying to protect with guns, to protect our thing, just in case anybody decides, oh, there's white people there, let's go and see what we can steal from them. So I always give him some. Last year we had some sports outfits left given by Inverurie Academy, so we gave them that for their netball team and the volleyball team, and this time I give them a volleyball. But he and Father Gerald work very closely together. They're making amazing changes to the way people think. Example of that is Father Gerald visited a school, not a Catholic school, and he became very aware of a stench, and he in the classroom, and he discovered that there was a boy with a serious wound to his shoulder and his back, and Father immediately got the child to the health centre, but he challenged the staff about it because they were aware of the wound and thing, but and also it's because his mother had been violent towards him, but everybody was saying nothing. This boy would have died from that injury because it was deteriorating so much. And so Father Gerald then phoned Captain Paul. Captain Paul was a pupil at the original St. Kizito secondary school that we were supporting way back at the start. And so he was almost like a teacher. He gave him a religious education thing. But Paul has huge respect for Father Gerald and really likes the way he works and is working alongside. So as chief of police, the two of them have such authority in the area. And they are really using it for the good, especially of the vulnerable and the poorest and things like that. So the mother was arrested, which is unheard of for something like that, and she was severely warned if she ever did anything like that, she would be through the courts, which was a shockwave around everybody because nobody had been challenged for attacking their children before. But it was a really good thing that had happened because it started to make people question and speak up when they know things are not right. So that, you know, their relationship is a really good one. So our sponsorship program, we have 38 sponsored children and 23 on the waiting list. Those 23 mostly came on the waiting list when we were there. But we arranged with Father to give the children the bags that they got from their sponsors, the sponsored children, which was the wash bag and the pencil case in a drawstring bag. So on the Saturday was when the children were off. They were arranged for the day we wanted to get more information about the children. We didn't have enough for their profiles. We just felt we didn't have enough for their sponsor to know much about them. So we said to Father, look, why don't we process the children, take their information down, take a photograph of them, and then they can get their bag. So we ended up very efficiently in the Western way, did that between the three of us. So Karen and Father interviewed the children, got their information, and then Clive took the photograph, and I took them through to the Father's office, gave them the bag, gave them clothes, as Father said, which was the majority of them, an outfit, then took photographs of them with an outfit. Their Father said it would be all right if we put some extra children in. So it went on for a very long time, but but I had more than enough of pencil cases and wash bags. Because of your generosity, I was able to give every single child the same thing, and it was amazing. And you see their faces and everything, but when you read their profiles, they all so badly need the help. I've got examples of some of the profiles here. We've got, this is Jonathan. I met him when I was out and about. He orphaned, lived with his sister who and her 4 children in a small house. They're farmers. And he's not been able to go to school because there's just no money. Really lovely boy. It was a delight to be around. And that's his sister behind him. Just a beautiful family, but just so poor. And then we've got Mercy. Father was said, she is such hardworking and she just wants that opportunity to go through with her plan to be a pharmacist. And she says he thinks she has every opportunity of doing that with the right help. So she's on the waiting list. We've got little Herman, who suffers from sickle cell and is really struggling with the side effects of the medication that he's on. And he lives with his grandmother, with his father abandoning him, and his mother working in Kampala, which often happens. The children are left with grandparents as well. Even if they have parents, they're not seeing them because they're away working. But yeah, he was a very nervous but sweet little boy as well. And then these two, Latifa and Safina, again, poorest of the poor, really difficult situation. They over and over again, similar things where if there is not a working member of the family, they are in absolute dire poverty. All of these lots are getting help with on the monthly supply. They're part of that as well, that program. Then we have Matthias and Serafina and Praskovia and their children. It was a delight to go back and see them. They are such a lovely family, and their children have sponsors on or 2 of them are sponsored, and the other one is on the waiting list, and Praskovia will be going on to the waiting list. Poorest of the poor, we've been sponsoring them for years. Serafina has cerebral palsy. She can't walk. She just drags herself along the ground. But on Boxing Day, I got devastating news. Serafina had been ill for a few days, had been in the health centre. Father had arranged for an ambulance to take her to the hospital, but on the early morning of Boxing Day, she died. So the little ones now, I don't even have the mum. It's just heartbreaking. But the reality of life, these are her other children that we've helped. They're doing so well. And again, there's light for them because of the support that you're giving. They're getting that support with food and with education, and it does make a difference. We've got an amazing donation of money this visit, way more than we ever get, which again, I was gobsmacked. But normally maybe have about £700-800 to take out with us for things that we saw. This time, you were so generous, we had £1,800. And so we used it for treatment and support of individuals and renewing equipment in the health centre. So these are the people in the areas we were able to help. So this little girl called Ruth, she had cerebral palsy. Again, she was dragging herself around the school on the ground. So I would ask Father how we can help. He said there's no point for the wheelchair at home because she's in a too rural situation, but to have a wheelchair at school would be a huge help for her. So we left money for a wheelchair. Christine, she had a difficult story. When we saw her, she was in a lot of pain. She was really a huge amount of pain. And Karen, being a doctor, she suggested that blood tests and tests were done. So we asked for that to arrange to go ahead. Father had told us her story. She had been married, and she had a granddaughter who lived with her, an orphan granddaughter who lived with her. But when her husband died, her two sons put her and the granddaughter out of the house. They were not allowed. The inheritance thing works is that the eldest son inherits, and the mother is not right to anything. And normally the family look after their own, but they kicked her out of the house, so she was homeless. The granddaughter went to now lives with the convent with the nurses in the convent with the sisters. So she's one of the ones that comes under and she does have a sponsor for school. But Christina's daughter, when that happened, especially when her mother became bedbound, she had to leave her job and move to she lived in a completely different area, so she had to leave all her family, everything, and now she lives with her mother at the moment because her mother is destitute without her help, so she looks after her mother full time. At least one child is stepping up for Christine. But we got Christine to the health, arranged for her, and she got to the health centre. So this is the ultra scanner that we got. So it's used not just for the pregnant mothers, it's used across the board. It's making such a difference. And so they diagnosed that she had severe ulcers, she had malaria, and she had low blood pressure. Those were the areas that they had got. And she was given the treatment, and she's starting to feel a lot better. Then we went to visit Aloysius, who's one of the elderly that we came across. When I went and touched his arm when we gave him the food, I realised he was burning up. So again, we arranged with Father for him to get blood tests, to come out and give him blood tests and things. So they got him to the health centre as well. So he tested positive for typhoid, a UTI and severe ulcers. So the poor man was in agony. But again, we've got the treatment for him, and he's on the mend and doing really well now. Mary, she came up to me one evening, and I was sitting outside and saying that she'd been on to the technical college and done like a dressmaking course, but she needed a sewing machine, but she was also saying she's got cerebral palsy. She had a weakness down her left side. So I'd said to her, I understand that, but you'll need to speak to Father Gerald because we can only take recommendations from Father Gerald. So when I saw Father Gerald later, I said, I spoke to her, and he said, oh yes, that's one of the ones I wanted to highlight to you. Okay, that's fine. He said, would it be all right if we could provide a sewing machine for her so she could set up in her own business, because her disability makes it very difficult for her to do other things. And I said, yep, we have the money for that. So that's another one through your generosity, we were able to help. That's her with her new sewing machine. And Bugira is, for those who don't remember or don't know, fell out of a tree and broke his back. For 2 years he was lying, and when I first met him, he was just lying waiting to die. He'd lost his wife. His wife had run away. His children lived with his mother. He'd given up on life. But we got him a tricycle. It took him a year to build up the strength to ride it. And from there, he's gone from strength to strength. We've provided 2 tricycles now, and a workshop house for him. He's working from home. We pay for him a course to do to mend shoes, and he also mends radios. He lives at home with his boys now, and he is a full member of the community, which he had been before the accident, and so back to his old life. When we were there, his bike needed repair, so we left money to repair his bike, and also he had a really bad wound on his thigh, a pressure wound, kind of ulcered and septic, which was needed dressing, so we had paid again for that to go back and forth for his treatment. So that's doing really well now. He's healed with that. We also left money for Lawrence, who we've had following for years. Such a lovely young man, really a lovely young man. You know, he's still burnt like a crisp with his thing. He just won't keep out the sun, but really such a gentle soul. But he's really struggling with his eyes, so we've paid for him to go to an optician in Kampala to see if they can do anything to help his eyes with glasses. And also for Alex, who's really having struggle with his eyes, it's causing him problems with his study, to go to the optician as well in Kampala, proper, yeah. So we left money for that, for those two. This is Robina, for those who didn't see it last time. Last year we met her and she asked, demanded that she could get a bike too. So that was her with the bike that we got her. And then we visited her this year. And that's her with her bike. She completely, the wheel was buckled and tire, you know, to completely things. So she needed money to get it repaired. So we left money for that. But then we got a huge surprise. It's her baby, Maria Gift. So she'd had a baby, and which was a huge surprise for us. But the father's not around or anything like that. But when we were there, Robina asked father for money for milk because she needed help with the feeding. When we came away, I just had such grave concern for that baby. I didn't think that baby was going to be there next year. I did not think that baby was going to survive. I voiced my concerns to father, and he said, yeah, he feels the same. She's got her young teenage brother helping her, but the situation was really dire. I asked father, right, what can we do here? How can we help this situation to give that baby a chance? So arranged for, father said that could we give a year's supply of powdered milk, not to overtake the feeding, but to keep supplementing the feeding. He said that he felt that was a good option. Also for a neighbour to come in and support and oversee the baby's care, and then also for the medical checks, regular medical checks for a year, but all those things for a year. So we left money for that to happen. But not barely a month or later, father informed me that he's had to find a relative to take the baby away because Robina kept having seizures and she kept dropping the baby. So the relative is in a different area, has taken the baby, but the care, what we put in place, has gone with the baby. So the baby is getting all the support that it needs to give it the best chance ever. So father's been out to visit and he said that everything's going very well. But again, that baby is on the back of your help. That baby would not have had a chance without your help. But now the baby's got a really good chance of survival. So this is delivering. We didn't have so much medical supplies this year, but it was full of paracetamol and ibuprofen that we managed to avoid getting seen to. Your prayers at the airport definitely made a difference, because there was a lady standing there with a load of bags and she was being charged for every single item. But we got, with a letter we got from the Vicar General and your prayers, they challenged us, and when I produced everything like that and we're standing there praying, and then all of a sudden the woman, she just went, go, and we're like, yes, away. And that poor woman standing there going, how did that happen? You know, she had to, she'd got homemade clothes, but they were being charged for all of them. So this is us taking the baby clothes. We decided we'd try the African way in our matching clothing. Again, there's a baby clothes make a huge difference. It encourages the women to come from antenatal care and things. And I also forgot to take this. Somebody gave me that. They were delighted to get it. I can't remember who gave it to me. It's a foot brace. So they were delighted to get that as well. Managed to get that in with everything. So we had a huge amount of baby clothes. So they were absolutely delighted to receive those. We also, when we were going around, we saw the state of some of the mattresses. These we had put in about 10 years ago. All the mattresses when we first arrived used to be like that. So whatever somebody else had the bed before you, you were lying on it as well. So that's why we put the covered mattresses in, but they were deteriorating. So we left money again. There were £22 each, but we got all of 5 new mattresses, or replaced all the mattresses that we could see that were deteriorating. We also got a new examination table, because they pulled back a blanket and there was a huge dip in all of the foam on the old one. So we got a new one, examination table. As you can see, there's a little the cot as well. Then we have Jacqueline and David. Jacqueline and David we met last year. Their mother died about 7 years ago. Their father is an alcoholic who is not going to live for much longer. He's really very poorly with his addiction. And this is the house that they were living in. They are sponsored children, but when you went into the house, you could see the daylight through it. And at that time, it was really bad rain, and everything was soaking. And their beds were just rags. They didn't even have mattresses. Really, really poor. And it was very difficult to see, but we arranged for them to have mattresses that they'd have at boarding school they could take home in the holidays and things. But a year later, I found that the house in a storm had completely been destroyed. There was a really bad storm in the summer, and it had about a month before we got there, it had been destroyed. Jacqueline came out to see it with her brother for the first time, because she is living at the school now, because her father tried to marry her off for money. So father stepped in and took her into the school full time as a boarder, so that to avoid that. Very bright children, so this is the first time she was seeing the ruins of her house. She was an absolute mess, and this is the house that she'd grown up with her mum, and she was homeless. She had nothing. They had nothing left, and her distress. Both Karen and I, we were a mess too, because we just could not bear the thought of that being, our children left with nothing. It was a very, very hard situation, and we were all even. Clive and father, you could see, were fighting back tears. It was just devastating. But Clive and Karen are their sponsors. And Clive just turned around and said, "This is easily sorted. I will pay for a new house to be built." So that's what he's done. So this was their house being built in November, December. So now, from being nothing, they are like very important in the community. They've got an amazing house going up for them. And it's all been put in legally in their name, so their father can't sell it or do anything like that. It's all been done just for them. So they've got somewhere that they have now to grow up and have a house that they can live in. So that's been a really good story and movement forward for them. We gave Annette, she's has sickle cell. She lost her sister just after lockdown with sickle cell. There was Fiona and Annette. But she's going to a boarding school. Father put her specifically to a boarding school where the head teacher has sickle cell too. So there'll be a level of support and understanding for her condition. But in the school, she when we were doing the sponsor processing day, she was part of that, and she handed me a letter for her sponsor. But she told me I had to read it first. So I read it, and what she was saying is that at school, because she has no school bag and she has no trunk, all her clothes keep getting stolen, and she's finding life very difficult with that. So I said, Father, right, I've got it. Somebody's given me a rucksack. I've taken it out. You know, she can have that. How much is a school trunk? So I think it was something like £13. I said, right, that's it. So we went and got it immediately. So that was her sorted. So again, that was the money we had. And also Brian, most years we have to replace his crutches. Brian has been part of the sponsorship program for many years. He had his leg amputated. He's got epilepsy and he's got learning difficulties, but he's currently doing a cobbler's course. And we just trundle along with him, trying to keep him going. He's had a very difficult life. He was completely rejected by, I think his mother died and his father had a new wife, and it was just awful what was going on with him. So, but he's quite a sad boy now, but I think from his past thing, but we're just trying to keep going with him and support him. And then St. Joseph's Buga Primary School, there was electricity very nearby, but they couldn't afford for it to be connected. So again, we left money for that so that they could have lights at night to do extra classes for the children and things like that. It's when the P7s have to do extra studying, and it just means they've got lights and things like that. And then a year's supply of anti-malarial. We usually leave that for Father. As you can see, he just loves the children. I love this picture here. This was on a really hot evening, and the kids were absolutely filthy. They were smelly. They were completely sticky with all the drools from their lollipops, and he just sat down there and he just was lovely with them, and it was just caught that picture of him there enjoying the time with the kids. And there was even a little baby sitting beside him which was drooling down with a lollipop. Look, his name was James. I remember him. But yeah, he's just so lovely with all of the children. So these are projects we have started fundraising for or will be in the future. This is Frederick. Frederick, again, has learning difficulties. He was left land by when his father died, but it has no house or anything like that. He lives in a neighbour's old kitchen thing. That's where he lives. And he's been, for many years, he's been asking Father for a house to be built. His family came in about and tried to take the land from him, but thankfully Father found out about it and managed to stop that happening. But he tries to farm the land himself with growing things, but he's just desperate to have a house. So Father's asking in the future, is there any way we can provide a house for him? So the house will cost about £4,000. We've already put 500 towards it with all the fundraising we've done just since we've got back, which is amazing. So we're just kind of picking away at the different ones. Also, the Giriada, St. Joseph's Giriada, St. Kizito Giriada, this is one of the poorest areas in the parish. But they were asking if they could have a kitchen, proper kitchen area built for, and this is the baby classroom, which has 100 children in it, and they're just absolutely squashed in. So it worked out it would be about £1,000 to build the kitchen, £1,000 to extend the wooden classroom to double the size. So again, we've got about £500 gone towards those projects. Also, the health centre bike, it's quite old now, and Father had asked if we could replace that. We have approached some people who are bikers to see whether they might fundraise for that, and we've already had a £200 donation towards it. Again, that's about £1,000 to get it replaced. It's been a lifesaver, absolutely lifesaver, since it's been in the parish. People who are too ill to get to the health centre now have access to medical help because of this is Brother Peter. He works in between the clergy house and the health centre, so he often will take people out and about, the nurses out into the different parishes, sub-parishes. And then we have our biggest fundraising event goal is the health centre staff accommodation. It is an absolute dire mess. Every time it rains, the ceilings keep falling down, as you see in this middle one. They're constantly having to deal with that, and they're going professional people living in really poor conditions. This has been on their request list for years now when I go out. But when I'm going out this time, it's a case of, no, we have to start really trying to do something about it. So I asked Father to get a quote of how much it would cost. So he got an architect to have a look at it, a builder, an architect. So it would be about £18,000. We have already raised £2,000 towards it because of everybody's generosity since we've got back with our fundraising events. So it's basically going to be a block of 5 rooms. And so one room is this. So you have the door here, a store, living room, bedroom and bathroom area and cupboards and things. So again, staff have babies with them, so it's really important to have good places for them to stay. And so this will be what we're planning to move forward with that. Then we went to visit the Vicar General. I've put in Father Ambrose to let you see the 3 priests at the parish. Father Gerald, Father Godfrey and Father Ambrose. They are priests of 25,000 parishioners. It's not normal to have such a big parish, because next door parish where Father Peter is, they only have 5,000 and 3 priests. So they seem to have got the short straw, but I think that all of them love it and revel in it. They are on call 24 hours a day. They work so hard, but they are amazing men. They're really a huge ministry that goes on there. We went to see the Vicar General because the bishop was not back from his holiday yet, and met up with him. He is an important person in the charity because he's the main secretary for the bank account. It's an overseeing. In Uganda, there's Father Gerald, the Vicar General and the administrator all oversee the money that comes through. So there's always accountability of what's going on that side as well. We also, there is, in the parish, they found out that there is one of the Ugandan martyrs had been born. And Father did a huge amount of research into it and everything. And what they're wanting to do is to have a shrine to encourage people, because Ugandan martyrs, on Ugandan Martyrs Day, 6 million people come to the Ugandan Martyrs shrine in Kampala on their feast day. So anything to do with the Ugandan martyrs, people automatically go round. So Father was looking to see, he managed to find out where it was. He managed to purchase the land by persuading a local government official to come up with the money. He's so good at getting things going. So it's up a hill and it's beautiful looking at our cross. But Father's, what he's wanting to do is to build a community centre and a school, so that people come visiting, but the community benefits and grows from the revenue that comes in from the pilgrims. So it really benefits the area. So as you can see, that's kind of up the hill. He's going to put the community centre down here, and then the shrine right up the top there, and the school further back. But this is going to cost major money. But Clive was very interested, and he said he would help Father write to the big companies in Uganda, Western company, oil companies in Uganda, to see if there would be something that they would be interested in funding, something that was helping community. Not so much the shrine, because that's a religious side, but the community, the fact that it's the community centre and the school. So he's been working with Father Gerald to try and see if they can access funding. One evening, Father just said, "Oh, I'm going to be late for mass, late for breakfast tomorrow. We'll leave a bit later. I've got to do some baptisms in the morning before breakfast." And okay, can I come? Yes, you can come if you'd like. I said, it'll be after mass, about 7:30, 8. So I trundle along to the church hall, and for baptizing 70 children. Yeah. I'll see. This is them anointing them with oil. And then they were all given a candle each, which I was having kittens about because these candles were going everywhere with all of these white clothing and everything. And then, as you can see with that, then we came out of the hall and walked up to the church, and then the children had to enter, because a lot of the children had been Muslim, and so they had to be formally invited and enter into the church. So this is them coming into the church. As usual, I'm getting videoed as I'm video. So that was them all sitting at the back of the church, all 70 of them. Okay. So the following weekend, 10 couples married, 357 children will receive their first Holy Communion, 251 were confirmed, and then another 123 children were baptized on Boxing Day. The fruits of what is going on, but we see the fruits in our parish too. They pray for us, we pray for them. It's just amazing what's going on. It's the connection to us is just bringing more and more all the time, and I'm just amazed by it all. So this is the brides and the First Holy Communion and the confirmations. Thank you, that's me finished.